The ancient world contained mechanical computers more advanced than anything built for the next 1,000 years. We are exploring the lost machines of antiquity, a journey into forgotten technology that will permanently change how you view human history. By the end, you will understand how modern science is reconstructing these devices and why their secrets matter for our own technological future. How did engineers 2,000 years ago create gear systems of such precision? And why was this knowledge lost for centuries? What does the relentless human drive to build say about us today? The corroded lump of bronze and wood hauled from the seafloor looked like little more than a rock encrusted with marine life. For nearly 50 years it sat in a museum drawer, a curious but unremarkable artifact from an ancient shipwreck. Then a careful cleaning revealed the outline of a gear, and then another. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, and it was not a rock at all. It was an ancient Greek analog computer, a complex clockwork of precision gears that could predict planetary positions, lunar phases, and even the timing of athletic games like the Olympics. Its discovery shattered our understanding of ancient technological capabilities. So what exactly transforms a simple artifact into one of these lost machines of antiquity? The distinction lies in a combination of breathtaking complexity, a purpose that seems impossibly advanced for its era, and the sheer depth of engineering knowledge required to bring it into existence. Historians like Dr. James Evans describe these devices as islands of high technology, sophisticated inventions that appear centuries or even millennia ahead of their time. They are not just tools, but machines with moving parts, intricate gear trains, and applications in science, timekeeping, or even mechanical automation that we typically associate with the Renaissance or the Industrial Revolution. Understanding this classification is the first step. It forces us to look past simple objects and recognize the genius embedded in bronze and stone. It makes us wonder how many other incredible inventions are still hidden in plain sight, mislabeled as rocks or ritual objects, simply because we have not yet learned how to see them for what they truly are. A single bronze fragment brushed clean of dust can rewrite history. This is the reality for modern archaeologists who have transformed their field into a high-tech detective agency. Their toolkit blends the patient, careful work of excavation with the power of advanced imaging and materials science. The goal is not just to find artifacts, but to read the stories locked within their corroded surfaces and hidden internal structures. Consider X-ray fluorescence, a technique that allows scientists to determine the exact elemental composition of an object without so much as scratching it. This tells them about the original alloys used, the sources of the metals, and even the manufacturing techniques of ancient foundries. Then there is computed tomography or CT scanning, which works like a medical scanner for history. It peels away the layers of corrosion to map the intricate gear trains buried inside a lump of bronze, revealing the ghost of the machine within. But technology alone is not enough. The full picture emerges only when these scans are combined with clues from the excavation site itself. The soil layer an object was found in, the other items buried with it, even the wreckage of the ship that carried it, all provide crucial context. Ancient texts and faded illustrations offer another set of clues, sometimes giving a name to a device or describing its purpose. Researchers at institutions like the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki then take this mountain of evidence into the digital realm. They build computational models, virtual machines that can be tested and adjusted, seeing if the theoretical gear ratios actually produce a moving image of the night sky. The final and perhaps most revealing step is experimental archaeology. This is where theories become tangible reality. Craftspeople using reconstructed ancient tools will attempt to build physical working models based on the digital blueprints. The act of building reveals the hidden challenges, the clever solutions, and the sheer ingenuity required to make these devices work. It is one thing to see a gear train in a simulation, and another entirely to hold a perfectly meshing bronze gear system in your hand, a system that tracks the moon's phases with silent, mechanical grace. This entire multidisciplinary process is a form of reverse engineering, a way of having a conversation with the long-dead engineers whose work we are only just beginning to comprehend. And as this evidence accumulates, it consistently points our attention toward a few remarkable civilizations whose workshops were buzzing with a level of mechanical sophistication we never knew existed. Archimedes of Syracuse did not merely invent things, he engineered entirely new categories of devices. His workshop was a crucible of mechanical genius, a place where abstract mathematical principles were forged into tangible, working machinery. According to ancient accounts, he built planetariums that replicated celestial motions with intricate gearwork, and designed fearsome war machines that leveraged compound pulleys and levers to defend his city. He reportedly declared, "Give me a place to stand, and I shall move the earth." This was not just a boast, but a statement of a profound new understanding of physics, an understanding that was being mechanically implemented. Archimedes was not an isolated phenomenon. He was the pinnacle of a technological revolution that swept across the Hellenistic world from the 3rd to the 1st centuries before the Common Era. This was an age of extraordinary innovation, where a succession of brilliant minds established the very foundations of mechanical engineering. In Alexandria, the great library was not just a repository of scrolls, but a vibrant center for experimental research. Here, engineers like Ctesibius pioneered pneumatics, creating sophisticated water clocks and even a working force pump. His successor, Philo of Byzantium, compiled vast encyclopedias of mechanics, detailing everything from siege engines to automated devices. Then came Hero of Alexandria, perhaps the most prolific of them all. Hero's surviving writings read like a catalogue of wonders. He described an eolipile, a sealed vessel with 2 opposing jets that would spin rapidly when heated, creating the world's first documented steam engine. He designed a vending machine that dispensed holy water when a coin was inserted, and he engineered automated temple doors that appeared to open by divine will, but were in fact powered by cleverly concealed systems of weights, pulleys, and heat from a fire on the altar. Classicist Dr. Serafina Cuomo emphasizes that these inventors were not mere tinkerers. They operated within a culture that deeply valued what they called techn, the marriage of theoretical knowledge with practical, hands-on skill. They understood the physics of air pressure, steam, and gearing in a way that was profoundly advanced. Their automated theaters, with their miniature robotic figures performing entire plays, were not just toys. They were demonstrations of a complete mechanical system, a proof of concept for automation that would not be seen again for over 1,000 years. The detailed plans these engineers left behind are priceless gifts to modern researchers. They are the blueprints that allow us to attempt reconstructions, to test their theories with our hands, and to confirm that their designs actually worked as described. Yet this flourishing of technology raises a haunting question. How could such a vibrant and well-documented engineering tradition, one that grasped the very principles that would later power the Industrial Revolution, simply fade from memory? The answer lies not in a single cataclysm, but in a slow, grinding process of cultural and economic collapse that severed the thread of knowledge, leaving only fragments for later civilizations to puzzle over. The genius of Archimedes and Hero was not a singular event in human history. Across the globe, in cultures separated by vast oceans and impassable mountains, other brilliant minds were solving complex engineering problems with equally astonishing creativity. While Greek automata captured the heavens in bronze gears, Chinese inventors were building machines to read the tremors of the earth itself. In the year 132 of the Common Era, the court astronomer Zhang Heng presented the Han Emperor with a device that seemed to possess magical powers. It was a bronze urn adorned with 8 dragon heads, each holding a bronze ball. Below each dragon sat a bronze toad with its mouth open. When an earthquake struck hundreds of miles away, an inverted pendulum mechanism hidden inside the urn would trigger a single dragon to release its ball, clattering into the mouth of the toad below. This indicated not only that a quake had occurred, but also the direction from which the seismic waves had originated. This was not magic, it was sophisticated mechanical sensing. The seismoscope could detect what human senses in the capital could not feel, a testament to a deep understanding of vibration and inertia. This same spirit of material science mastery is frozen in time at Delhi, India. There, an iron pillar forged in the 4th century stands completely untouched by rust after more than 1,600 years of exposure to sun and monsoon rains. Modern analysis suggests the ancient metallurgists used a unique process that created a protective, thin film on the surface, a passive layer that shields the iron from corrosion to this day. It is a monument not to a king, but to a chemical recipe that we are still deciphering. Further west, a small clay pot found near Baghdad and dated to the Parthian period confounds historians. It contained a copper cylinder and an iron rod sealed inside with an asphalt plug. If filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar, it would have produced a small electrical current. We call it the Baghdad battery. Was it used for electroplating gold onto silver, or perhaps had some medicinal or ritual purpose? We may never know for certain, but its very existence hints at a scattered, experimental knowledge of electrochemistry long before Galvani and Volta. Even the challenges of the natural world spurred incredible innovation. In the dense rainforests of the Mayan civilization, where seasonal downpours were followed by dry periods, engineers constructed vast, intricate networks of reservoirs, canals, and sluice gates. These systems collected rainwater, managed soil erosion, and supported large urban populations in a seemingly inhospitable environment. Their hydraulic engineering was as vital to their survival as any astronomical clock. Why did China perfect earthquake detection and intricate bronze casting, while Rome excelled in aqueducts and concrete? The path of invention was always shaped by local needs and values. A culture threatened by earthquakes had a powerful incentive to build a seismoscope. A society that revered the heavens would pour its resources into precise astronomical devices. The materials available, the climate, and the very philosophical questions a civilization asked all guided the hand of its engineers. This global tapestry of technology shows us that human ingenuity is a universal constant. It was not a single flame lit in Greece and then extinguished, but a series of fires sparking independently across the ancient world, each burning with its own unique and brilliant light. And as we piece together these disparate inventions, a pattern begins to emerge, a shared human drive to not just understand the world, but to measure it, to control it, and to build machines that extend our senses far beyond their natural limits. The gears of an ancient machine were only as strong as the bronze that held them. Across the ancient world, engineering breakthroughs were made possible by a silent revolution in materials science, a mastery of substances whose properties we are still struggling to replicate. The legendary Damascus steel swords, for instance, were not just sharp, They were legendary for their ability to bend without breaking and slice through lesser blades. Modern electron microscopy has revealed their secret. These blades, forged from a type of high-carbon steel called woots that originated in India and Sri Lanka, contained nanowires and carbon nanotubes. These microscopic structures, formed through a meticulously controlled process of heating and slow cooling, gave the steel its extraordinary combination of hardness and resilience. This was not a happy accident. It was the result of generations of smiths perfecting a recipe, a specific thermal cycling process that represented a pinnacle of metallurgical achievement. The Romans achieved a similar marvel with their concrete. While our modern concrete crumbles in seawater within decades, Roman piers and breakwaters have stood strong for 2,000 years, the waves only making them harder. Materials scientist Dr. Maureen Baiko explains that the secret lies in the mix. The Romans used volcanic ash from Pozzuoli, which, when combined with lime and seawater, triggers a rare chemical reaction. It forms crystals that actually block microcracks from spreading, giving the concrete a self-healing property. This was a sophisticated composite material, engineered for a specific, demanding environment. The development of these supermaterials was never accidental. It was a process of deliberate, cumulative experimentation. A Roman engineer did not simply throw sand and lime together and hope for the best. He followed a precise recipe, one refined over centuries, that specified the exact type of volcanic ash and the meticulous mixing procedure. This knowledge was often a closely guarded state secret or the protected craft of a specific guild. When that chain of transmission was broken, the technology could vanish for a millennium. The loss of the Wootz steel recipe is a perfect example. The technique faded as the social structures that supported it collapsed and the specific ore sources were depleted. We can now see the carbon nanotubes under our powerful microscopes, but we still cannot perfectly reproduce the original process. These advanced materials were the invisible enablers of ancient high technology. A complex bronze gear train would have been useless if the gears were brittle. A powerful siege engine would have shattered its own components without the right timber and metal fittings. The success of the machine was entirely dependent on the quality of its substance. And perhaps nowhere was this marriage of robust materials and brilliant design more critically tested than on the battlefields of the ancient world, where the next generation of machines transformed the very nature of conflict. A city wall was more than just stone. It was a complex puzzle for ancient military engineers to solve. The solutions they devised pushed the very boundaries of mechanical possibility. At the Siege of Rhodes, a Macedonian king deployed a machine so colossal it was named the Helepolis, or Taker of Cities. This was not a simple ladder. It was a 9-story ironclad fortress on wheels, towering 130 feet high and requiring thousands of men to move its immense weight. Inside its protected frame, soldiers operated multiple catapults, while massive screws and capstans provided the power to inch it forward. It was a mobile siegeworks, a testament to an engineering mindset that could conceive of machinery on a truly breathtaking scale. For the defenders, the challenge was to think even more creatively. Archimedes, the brilliant mathematician, became Syracus's chief engineer when the Romans attacked. Historical accounts claim he designed a claw, a crane-like device that would reach out from the walls, hook an enemy ship, and lift its prow clear out of the water before dropping it, capsizing the vessel. He is also said to have used arrays of polished bronze shields to focus sunlight onto the Roman fleet, setting the ships ablaze. While historians debate the feasibility of this heat ray, the very fact that such ideas were attributed to him speaks to a culture that believed in the power of physics as a weapon. The real revolution, however, lay in the systematic application of force. Hellenistic workshops perfected torsion-powered weapons. These were not the simple tension catapults of earlier times. They relied on tightly wound skeins of rope or sinew, storing immense energy that, when released, could hurl a stone ball or a heavy bolt with devastating force and accuracy. The Romans took this concept and industrialized it. Their caraballista was a two-man mobile catapult mounted on a cart for rapid deployment. It featured precision aiming screws and standardized parts, meaning a broken component on a battlefield in Gaul could be replaced with a spare from a warehouse in Rome. This was mass production applied to advanced artillery, a concept we associate with the modern era. Historian Dr. Tracy Rihl's work shows how these machines required a deep understanding of leverage, material strength, and energy storage. The Roman onager, with its single arm and massive sling, used a sophisticated counterweight system to hurl projectiles in a high arc over fortifications. Every launch was a violent release of stored potential energy, a physical principle these engineers understood intimately, even if they did not call it by its modern name. The relentless pressure of conflict accelerated innovation, forcing the solving of practical problems like rate of fire, mobility, and logistical supply. Yet the principles honed in war did not stay there. The same gear systems that aimed a ballista could be used to lift water. The same understanding of levers and pulleys that built a siege tower could raise stone blocks for a temple. The cutting edge of ancient engineering was often forged in the fires of war, but its greatest legacy was the peaceful knowledge it left behind, a mechanical grammar that would one day be used to build a different kind of machine, one not designed for destruction, but for calculating the harmonious movements of the cosmos itself. The relentless flow of a river could power an entire city's bread supply. Deep in the French countryside, the ruins of the Barbagal Mill complex stand as a monument to Roman industrial ambition. Here, 16 individual water wheels were arranged in two parallel rows cascading down a hillside, harnessing the water's energy in a series of powerful stages. This was not a simple mill, it was a factory, a single system capable of producing enough flour to feed thousands of people every day. It represents a quantum leap in thinking, from simply using water to turning it into a centralized, scalable source of mechanical power. This principle of energy conversion was applied with astonishing creativity across the ancient world. Hero of Alexandria described a wind-powered organ, where the force of the wind turned a wheel that pumped bellows, making music without a human musician. The same mechanical principles that ground grain could also create automated theatrical performances, blurring the line between utility and wonder. At the heart of these systems were the gear trains. A simple water wheel spins too quickly and with too little force to effectively grind hard grain. Ancient engineers solved this with a brilliant invention, the crown gear. This vertical gear, meshing with a horizontal one, accomplished two things at once. It changed the direction of the power from the vertical spin of the water wheel to the horizontal rotation of the millstone, and through a carefully calculated ratio of teeth, it dramatically increased the turning force or torque. This speed reduction was the key. It transformed a fast, weak spin into a slow, powerful grind that could pulverize grain into fine flour. Engineering historian Dr. John Landels points out that these artisans possessed an intuitive, yet highly advanced, understanding of mechanical advantage. They knew how to manipulate force and motion through gear ratios long before the formal laws of physics were written. The ultimate proof of this sophistication lies within the Antikythera mechanism. Nestled inside that corroded lump of bronze is a differential gear, a complex assembly that calculates the difference between two rotational speeds. This device, essential for tracking the variable motion of the moon, was so advanced that historians once believed it was invented in the 16th century. Its existence in a 2,000-year-old device confirms that ancient metalworking and theoretical mechanics had reached a level we are only now fully appreciating. These power transmission systems were the circulatory system of ancient high technology. They moved energy from a water wheel to a millstone, from a wind vane to a musical pipe, and from a hand crank through a complex maze of bronze gears to model the predictable yet majestic dance of the planets. This mastery over force and motion did more than just practical work. It gave birth to a new idea, the possibility of a machine that could operate independently, tracking something as abstract and fleeting as time itself. The steady drip of water marking the passage of an hour was the heartbeat of ancient civilization. Before the mechanical clock, societies across the globe measured time through the silent, dependable motions of the cosmos, turning celestial patterns into tangible, earthly measurements. The Egyptians divided their days with simple shadow clocks, while the Babylonians refined the water clock, or clepsydra, into a more reliable instrument. But it was in the Hellenistic world that timekeeping transformed into a high art form. In the heart of Athens, the Tower of the Winds stood as a public monument to this obsession with precision. Its 8 sundials caught the sun from every angle, while an internal water clock, fed by a spring from the Acropolis, took over when the skies were overcast. This was not a single device, but an integrated timekeeping system, ensuring the city's rhythms continued unabated, day or night. The true marvel, however, lay in the regulatory mechanisms hidden inside these advanced water clocks. Engineers introduced feedback systems and overflow tanks to maintain a constant water pressure, ensuring a steady flow regardless of how full the reservoir was. Some models featured elaborate automata, where the rising water level would trigger tiny figures to move, ring bells, or even eject a ball on the hour. This was time made visible and audible, a mechanical performance of an abstract concept. Horologist Dr. James Nye emphasizes that building such a device required a deep, interdisciplinary understanding. The maker had to be an astronomer to calibrate it to the unequal hours of the seasons, a plumber to manage the fluid dynamics, and a precision metalworker to craft the gears and valves that made it all work. The goal was never just to know the time, but to create a microcosm of the universe itself, a small, ordered machine mirroring the great, ordered machine in the sky. This philosophical drive to model the cosmos found its ultimate expression in the Antikythera Mechanism. Here was a timekeeper of breathtaking scope, a device that calculated celestial cycles rather than hourly ones. Its intricate gear trains, driven by a single hand crank, modeled the variable speed of the moon's motion, predicted eclipses decades in advance, and tracked the positions of the 5 known planets. It did not merely tell time, it orchestrated it, displaying the complex, interlocking rhythms of the heavens on a single dial. The precision required for this was staggering. Certain gear ratios within the mechanism accurately mirrored the moon's subtle orbital variations, a mathematical insight we would not see again until the European Renaissance. This was a computer built from bronze, its algorithms physically forged into its spinning gears. Why did this matter so much? For these ancient cultures, accurate timekeeping was the foundation of civic order, agricultural planning, and religious observance. Knowing the correct time to plant, to hold a festival, or to navigate by the stars was essential for survival and social cohesion. The devices they built were therefore not just practical tools, but profound statements about their place in the universe. They demonstrated a belief that the cosmos operated according to rational, mechanical laws that the human mind could both comprehend and replicate. The existence of the Antikythera Mechanism, a machine whose complexity would be lost for over a millennium, shatters the comfortable myth of linear technological progress. It forces us to confront a startling reality that deep knowledge can be forgotten, that brilliance can be buried by the sands of time, leaving only silent, corroded fragments to hint at what was once known. A Byzantine emperor might have held the cosmos in the palm of his hand. Historical records describe a portable celestial sphere crafted from silver, its surface a delicate web of turnable rings and intricate markings that displayed the dance of planets and predicted the darkening of the sun or moon. This was not a mere ornament, it was a functional computer built to calculate the future of the heavens. Such devices represent the pinnacle of ancient astronomical technology, a specialized field where mathematics, metalworking, and cosmic observation converged. The Antikythera Mechanism is our most spectacular physical proof of this tradition. Its labyrinth of at least 30 interlocking bronze gears was a mechanical mind designed to solve celestial problems. One of its most brilliant features was a complex assembly that accounted for the Moon's irregular orbit. The Moon does not travel around Earth at a constant speed. It speeds up and slows down in a predictable cycle. The ancient engineers replicated this subtle variation using a pin and slot device that gently altered the speed of a gear, creating a beautifully accurate model of the Moon's variable motion within a clockwork system. This was not its only function. The mechanism also served as a long-range calendar and a predictor of eclipses. It encoded the Metonic cycle, a period of 19 solar years that equals 235 lunar months, which was crucial for keeping lunar and solar calendars in sync. It also tracked the Saros cycle, a period of approximately 18 years after which eclipses repeat in a similar pattern. By turning a hand crank, a user could advance the mechanism through time and see on a dial when the next eclipse would darken the sky, decades in the future. The work of researchers like Professor Michael Wright, who spent years building a physical reconstruction, reveals the staggering sophistication required. This was not a device born from a single genius, but from a deep, collaborative culture. Astronomers provided the precise mathematical cycles. Mathematicians calculated the necessary gear ratios to represent those cycles in spinning metal, and master metalworkers executed those designs with a precision that still astounds us today. These celestial computers blur every line we try to draw between a scientific instrument, a philosophical demonstration of a clockwork universe, and a pure technological marvel. Their very existence suggests that the scientific instrumentation of antiquity was far more advanced than we ever imagined. The same principles of gearing and calculation that mapped the heavens, however, were soon applied to problems far more terrestrial, proving that the drive to build complex machines extended from the stars down to the very earth beneath our feet. The sound of a temple door swinging open on its own would have been a moment of pure magic. For an ancient worshipper, it was a direct encounter with the divine, an invisible force made manifest. Yet behind the stone facade, a very different kind of magic was at work. A fire was lit on the altar, heating the air inside a sealed container. As the air expanded, it pushed water through a series of pipes into a hidden counterweight. The weight descended, turning spindles and pulling ropes, and the great doors swung inward, all without a single human hand. This was not a miracle in the supernatural sense, but a masterpiece of pneumatic and hydraulic engineering, designed to inspire awe through mechanical certainty. The same principles were used to create singing mechanical birds, powered by steam whistles that mimicked the sound of a living creature. These automata were wonders, but they were also profound philosophical demonstrations. They showed that nature operated according to predictable, mechanical laws that could be harnessed and recreated. The ultimate expression of this programmable world was Hero's automated theater. Imagine a small, self-contained stage. At the start of a performance, a single weighted rope began to descend. acting as the timer and power source for the entire show. As it slowly unwound from a cylinder, it turned a complex assembly of axles and strings. These were not random parts, but a precise mechanical sequence. One set of knots would trigger a lever, causing a door on the stage to open and a figure to emerge. A little later, another knot would trip a different switch, making a miniature ship sail across a painted sea while the sound of thunder, created by pouring lead shot onto a drum, echoed through the theater. The entire play, with its moving scenery, sound effects, and animated figures, unfolded automatically. It was a clockwork story, a narrative programmed into a machine. These devices went beyond temple wonders and entertainment. Practical automation existed too, like the first vending machines. A coin dropped into a slot would fall onto a carefully balanced lever. The weight of the coin would tip the lever, opening a valve that dispensed a measured amount of holy water before the coin slid off, resetting the mechanism. It was a simple, elegant solution for managing a sacred resource. Classicist Dr. Sylvia Berriman suggests we see these inventions not as mere toys, but as serious experiments. They were explorations into the boundaries of autonomous action. How could a machine be made to perform a complex, multi-step sequence without human guidance? The answer lay in a sophisticated understanding of control systems. The sequenced knots on Hero's rope were a form of physical programming. The use of counterweights and siphons in water systems created feedback loops that regulated flow. These engineers were grappling with the same core problems of timing, sequencing, and power transmission that would define the industrial automation of the 18th and 19th centuries. They proved that the concept of a programmed machine, one that could carry out a series of actions independently, was not a modern idea at all. It was a dream forged in bronze and fire 2,000 years ago, a dream that asked a daring question. If a machine could be made to pour wine, sing like a bird, or act out a tragedy, what truly was the difference between a living movement and a mechanical one? This line of thinking did not vanish. It retreated into the shadows, preserved not in metal, but in parchment and ink, waiting for a new age to rediscover its power. The gentle splash of a public fountain masked the hum of an entire hydraulic civilization. For the Romans, water was not merely a substance to be carried. It was a versatile tool for power, cooling, and even entertainment, all managed by a sophisticated understanding of pressure and flow. The aqueducts that snaked across the landscape were just the beginning, the arteries that fed a pulsating network of urban plumbing. Inside the city, this water became the lifeblood of spectacle. Elaborate fountains in wealthy villas and public squares were not static displays. They were hydraulic machines where water pressure, channeled through carefully calibrated bronze pipes and valves, powered animated statues of gods and heroes, or spun water wheels that rang bells and played simple musical chimes. This was hydraulic power in its most elegant form, transforming a basic resource into a dynamic performance. The engineering behind these wonders relied on fundamental breakthroughs in machine design. Centuries earlier, in Alexandria, Ctesibius had perfected the force pump. His design used twin pistons, leather seals, and clever one-way valves to push a continuous stream of water or create a steady blast of compressed air. This was a monumental leap. It meant engineers were no longer limited by gravity. They could now push water uphill, drain flooded mines, or supply a steady, pressurized stream to fight fires. Philo of Byzantium later documented these devices, detailing how their principles could be scaled from small workshop tools to massive industrial applications. The true test of this knowledge, however, was in the sprawling Roman bath complexes. These were not just buildings, they were thermal power plants, Vast underground furnaces heated air that circulated under floors and through walls, while the water supply itself was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering. To feed the hot, warm, and cold baths at different levels, Roman engineers mastered the siphon, using inverted U-shaped pipes to move water over obstacles. They managed immense water pressure with lead piping that was standardized by diameter, a concept we now call modularity. Archaeologist Dr. Andrew Wilson notes that these standardized pipes, with their soldered joints, were pressure-resistant enough to supply multi-story buildings, a feat not matched in Europe until the 19th century. This mastery of air and water found its most beautiful expression in the hydraules, or water organ. In this instrument, a steady stream of water maintained constant air pressure inside a chamber, allowing the musician to play a consistent note for the first time in history. By pressing keys, they opened valves that released this pressurized air into a series of pipes, creating a powerful, majestic sound that could fill an amphitheater. It was the world's first keyboard instrument, a direct ancestor of the church organ, born from the union of hydraulic control and musical ambition. The same force pumps that drained Spanish silver mines of seepage also powered the spectacular fountains in imperial gardens. The principles that kept a Roman bath supplied were directly applicable to surgical tools that used syringe-like devices for wound irrigation. This was the genius of the ancient hydraulic revolution, a single, fluid understanding of pressure that powered everything from the most brutal industrial labor to the most refined artistic and spiritual experiences, proving that the line between practical necessity and sublime beauty was, for these engineers, merely a question of how you directed the flow. A Roman surgeon's toolkit contained instruments of chilling precision. Found preserved in the ashes of Pompeii, these bronze and steel tools display an understanding of form and function that would not be surpassed for over 1,000 years. There were scalpels with replaceable steel blades slotted into ornate bronze handles, delicate forceps with fine teeth for extracting fragments from wounds, and specialized bone levers for setting fractures. Each instrument was ergonomically shaped to fit the hand, its weight and balance calculated for the delicate work of saving a life. This was not crude medicine. It was a field of sophisticated technology where mechanical innovation directly served the human body. Perhaps the most striking example is the Roman vaginal speculum. This device, made of bronze, featured 2 or 3 opposing blades that were smoothly opened by turning a central screw mechanism. This allowed for precise, controlled dilation for internal examinations and procedures, a principle that remains fundamentally unchanged in modern gynecology. The very existence of such a specialized tool speaks to an advanced and systematic approach to women's health. According to medical historian Dr. Patricia Baker, the material choice was itself a technological innovation. These instruments were often crafted from specific bronze alloys that blended copper with tin, and sometimes a trace of silver. Copper ions are naturally antimicrobial, meaning these tools actively fought infection during and after surgery, a crucial advantage in an era before germ theory. This convergence of material science and medical need is a hallmark of ancient high technology. The scope of their surgical ambition was staggering. Surgeons performed cataract operations using a fine needle to displace the clouded lens, a procedure requiring a steady hand and perfect tool control. They had sophisticated trepanning saws with a central guide pin to prevent the blade from plunging too deeply into the brain. They crafted catheters from hollowed-out metals and flexible materials to relieve urinary obstructions. There is even evidence of functional prosthetic limbs, like the remarkable Capua leg, an artificial lower leg made of wood and bronze, fitted with a locking knee joint that allowed for a more natural gait. What does the design of a 2,000-year-old bone drill tell us? Its fluted bit and graceful, weighted handle reveal a deep knowledge of both metallurgy and human anatomy. The creation of these devices required a close collaboration between the physician, who understood the biological problem, and the master metalworker, who could translate that need into a perfectly balanced physical object. Sometimes the patient was part of this process too, as with a custom-fitted prosthetic. These medical machines challenge our simplest assumptions about ancient life, proving that the drive to heal, to repair, and to restore the human body was a powerful engine for technological progress. This same innovative spirit, applied not to the fragile human form but to the monumental scale of construction, would lead to one of antiquity's most enduring and visible legacies. A single blueprint could outlive an entire civilization. The survival of advanced technology depended not just on a genius in a workshop, but on a robust network of knowledge keepers, institutions dedicated to preserving and transmitting complex ideas across the generations. The legendary Library of Alexandria was the ultimate expression of this system. It was not merely a quiet repository for scrolls, but a vibrant, living brain trust. Within its halls, an engineer like Hero could study the pneumatic experiments of Ctesibius from 3 centuries prior, building directly upon a foundation of accumulated mechanical understanding. This was a place where the past actively conversed with the present, where a diagram sketched by Philo of Byzantium could inspire a new automaton in the hands of a later inventor. The library was the physical heart of the museum, a true university where mathematicians, astronomers, and engineers worked side by side. This interdisciplinary environment was crucial. A complex device like the Antikythera Mechanism could never have been built by a single mind. It required an astronomer to provide the precise celestial cycles, a mathematician to translate those cycles into gear ratios, and a master metalworker to forge those calculations into spinning bronze. Historian Dr. Reveal Netz points out that ancient mathematical texts were often deeply practical, filled with mechanical applications that show a seamless integration of abstract theory and hands-on practice. This institutional support was reinforced by powerful royal patronage. Kings and emperors funded these centers of learning and workshops, not merely out of intellectual curiosity, but for the tangible military and economic advantages that new technology could bring. Beyond the great libraries, knowledge traveled through more intimate channels. Master craftsmen passed down their secrets through rigorous apprenticeship systems, teaching the feel of molten bronze and the precise angle for cutting a gear tooth through years of direct, hands-on training. This tacit knowledge, the muscle memory of a craft, was as vital as any written text, and along the sprawling Silk Road trade routes, technical ideas spread as surely as spices and silk. A gear design perfected in Alexandria might find its way to a clockmaker in China, while a Persian water-lifting technique could transform agriculture in the Roman world. Yet for all their sophistication, these knowledge networks were astonishingly fragile. The technical manuscripts were painstakingly copied by hand onto papyrus or parchment, vulnerable to fire, moisture, and simple neglect. When political turmoil struck, when a library burned or a royal patron fell, the chain of transmission could be broken in an instant. The loss of a single key text, or the dissolution of a guild of master metalworkers, could erase a technological concept for 1,000 years. The very institutions that enabled technological peaks also created a precarious legacy, one where the light of understanding could be extinguished by a single gust of historical change. This fragility becomes painfully clear when we try to rebuild what was lost, forcing modern researchers to become detectives staring at the ghost of a machine. The crusted bronze fragments offered no easy answers. For nearly half a century after their recovery from the Antikythera shipwreck in 1901, the mechanism remained an indecipherable puzzle, a corroded lump that defied classification. Initial surface examinations could only hint at its complexity, revealing traces of gear teeth and faded Greek inscriptions that suggested an astronomical purpose, but the true heart of the machine remained locked away beneath layers of corrosion. The first major breakthrough came in the 1970s with gamma radiography, a type of X-ray that allowed researchers to peer inside the calcified mass. These early images confirmed the presence of an astonishing number of interlocking gears, at least 30, arranged in a complex clockwork assembly. It was clear this was no simple navigational tool, but a device of profound sophistication. The mystery only deepened. Decades later, a team led by Professor Tony Freeth employed a revolutionary new tool, micro-focus computed tomography. This high-resolution CT scanning technology acted like a digital archaeologist's trowel, painstakingly scraping away the virtual corrosion to map the internal mechanisms in 3 dimensions. The scans revealed inscriptions hidden for 2 millennia, a user's manual etched in bronze. These texts spoke of planetary motions, eclipse predictions, and even the cycles of athletic games like the Olympics. The true genius of the device began to emerge from the digital shadows. One of the most stunning revelations was a complex assembly now known as the differential gear. This was not a simple gear train, but a brilliant arrangement of gears on a turntable that could add and subtract rotational speeds. Within the mechanism, this assembly calculated the difference between the mean speed of the Moon's orbit and its variable, anomaly, producing an output that accurately modeled the Moon's subtle speeding up and slowing down as seen from Earth. Historians of technology were stunned. This component was a cornerstone of modern automotive transmissions, and its presence in a 2,000-year-old artifact was nothing short of revolutionary. Understanding the theory was one thing, building a working model was another. The process of physical reconstruction presented a cascade of engineering puzzles. Modern machinists discovered that crafting the gears required extraordinary precision. Each tooth had to be filed by hand to an exact, involute profile to ensure smooth meshing without binding or slipping. The spacing of these teeth was not arbitrary. It encoded specific mathematical ratios derived from Babylonian astronomical cycles. A gear with 127 teeth, for instance, was crucial for modeling the Moon's orbit, a number that seems bizarre until you understand the complex lunar cycles it represents. The researchers also had to solve the calibration problem. How did the original user set the machine to the correct date? The answer likely lay in the surviving eclipse prediction dial, which functioned as a permanent celestial anchor point. By turning the main input crank until the mechanism matched a known historical eclipse, the entire system could be synchronized with the cosmos. This painstaking work of digital modeling and physical recreation has transformed the Antikythera mechanism from a collection of cryptic fragments into the world's first known analog computer. Its successful reconstruction stands as a beacon of hope, proving that even the most fragmented evidence, when interrogated with patience and cutting-edge technology, can surrender its secrets. This triumph invites us to look at other enigmatic artifacts with fresh eyes, to wonder if the tools to rebuild Hero's steam engine or Zhang Heng's seismoscope are already within our grasp, waiting only for the right combination of curiosity and forensic science to bring them back to life. While the lights of Alexandria flickered and faded, a different kind of mechanical dawn was breaking in the East. In the 11th century, as Europe entered its so-called Dark Ages, the Chinese engineer Su Song presented the emperor with a marvel that would have been perfectly at home in the workshops of Archimedes. His astronomical clock tower stood over 30 feet tall, a pagoda of pure mechanical intelligence. Its heart was a water wheel, but this was no simple mill. It was driven by a constant stream of water, meticulously regulated by an ingenious device called the escapement. This mechanism caught each bucket on the wheel, allowing it to advance one precise step at a time, transforming the relentless flow of water into the measured, ticking heartbeat of a machine. This single innovation, a water-driven escapement, powered the entire symphony. At the top of the tower, an armillary sphere of bronze rings mapped the positions of the stars. A celestial globe rotated in sync with the heavens, and on each hour the mechanical pulse would trigger a parade of automated figures. Wooden puppets would emerge from behind doors, ringing bells, beating drums, and holding tablets to announce the time, a robotic chorus performing for the imperial court. Zhu Song did something else that was just as crucial for us today. He wrote it all down. He commissioned detailed technical drawings and wrote extensive descriptions of every gear, every shaft, and every wooden automaton. These documents are a time capsule, a complete blueprint that has allowed modern historians and engineers to reconstruct his tower and confirm that his descriptions were not fantasy, but precise engineering specifications. This was not an isolated wonder. The same culture that built the clock tower also perfected the south-pointing chariot. This was a legendary device, a two-wheeled carriage on which a central figure would always point south, no matter which way the chariot turned. It achieved this not with a magnet, but with an intricate set of differential gears that mechanically compensated for the chariot's changes in direction. It was a mechanical compass, a stunning parallel to the differential gear in the Antikythera Mechanism, proving that the same abstract mathematical solutions could be discovered by minds working a continent apart. The work of sinologist Dr. Joseph Needham meticulously documented this flourishing of Chinese innovation, particularly during the Song dynasty. He showed how political stability and imperial patronage created an environment where long-term, complex technological projects could thrive. The emperor's mandate to rule was believed to be tied to the harmony of the heavens, so accurately predicting eclipses and maintaining a perfect calendar was a matter of state security. These astronomical machines were therefore both scientific instruments and powerful political tools, demonstrating the emperor's cosmic connection. This continuous development rested on a deep well of accumulated knowledge. Chinese water clock technology, refined over more than 1,000 years, provided the steady time base for Zhu Song's escapement. The master craftsmen who built the clock tower's complex gear trains likely came from guilds that also produced precision instruments for cartography and navigation. The mechanical knowledge flowed seamlessly between fields, each advance feeding the next. The sophistication of these devices forces us to abandon any simple, Eurocentric story of technological progress. It was not a single relay race with a lone torch being passed from Greece to Rome to Renaissance Europe. It was more like a global symphony, with different sections playing their own brilliant melodies at different times. The Chinese astronomical tradition developed entirely independently from the West, yet it arrived at a similar pinnacle of mechanical complexity, solving the same fundamental problems of power, control, and cosmic modeling. Understanding these parallel paths is essential. It shows us that human ingenuity is a universal spark, capable of igniting multiple times in multiple cultures. But it also underscores a haunting pattern. Just as the knowledge of the Antikythera Mechanism was lost, the secrets of Zhu Song's clock tower were also forgotten in China after his death, its technology lying dormant for centuries. The rise and fall of these magnificent machines reveal a sobering truth about knowledge itself. It is not a permanent possession, but a flame that must be constantly fed and shielded from the winds of change. That intricate dance of bronze gears could so easily fall silent. The disappearance of advanced ancient technology represents one of history's most profound puzzles, a phenomenon we call technological regression. Why would knowledge that took centuries to develop, the product of generations of brilliant minds, simply vanish from human memory? Consider the last engineer who fully understood the Antikythera mechanism. He would have known the precise mathematical ratios for each gear, the secret of the differential turntable, the way to calibrate the dials to the night sky. When he died without an apprentice to receive that knowledge, the intricate logic locked within that bronze box became a ghost, its purpose fading into myth for 2,000 years. This was not a single event but a pattern. The decline was rarely sudden. It was a slow unraveling, a gradual simplification as the complex ecosystems that supported high technology began to disintegrate. Great urban centers, the hubs of specialized workshops and royal patronage, contracted or were abandoned. The long-distance trade routes that carried not only goods but ideas, the Silk Roads and maritime paths, were severed by conflict and economic collapse. The intellectual heartbeat of the ancient world, the great library of Alexandria with its vast collections of technical manuscripts, dwindled and scattered. These were the vital organs of innovation, and when they failed, the knowledge they sustained could no longer survive. Historian Dr. James McClellan explains that technological systems are not self-sustaining. They require very specific social, economic, and intellectual conditions to flourish. A master gear cutter needs not only his skills, but a steady supply of quality bronze, a market of astronomers or engineers who can pay for his work, and access to the complex mathematical texts that specify the gear ratios. If any part of that chain breaks, the entire system can collapse. This fragility is perfectly illustrated by the story of Roman concrete. The Romans built harbors that have withstood the punishing sea for 2 millennia, their concrete growing stronger with time. Yet the precise formula for this self-healing material, a mix involving specific volcanic ash, was lost during the Middle Ages. Builders for centuries afterward could only create inferior substitutes, and the secret was only rediscovered through modern materials science in the 21st century. The loss was not just of a recipe, but of the entire supporting industry, the guilds of concrete specialists, the shipping networks for the special ash, and the large-scale construction projects that demanded such a superior material. This pattern reveals a crucial distinction. We can lose a specific device, like a particular model of water clock, while still understanding the underlying principle of hydraulics. This is a setback, but not a catastrophe. The true regression occurs when we lose the underlying principles themselves, the core scientific knowledge that allows for reinvention. The manuscripts that contained the works of Ctesibius on pneumatics or Philo on mechanics were hand-copied onto fragile papyrus and parchment. When those copies were lost to fire, rot, or simply because no one bothered to copy them anymore, the intellectual foundations of entire engineering disciplines crumbled. This process was often one of gradual adaptation. When a society can no longer support a complex 30-foot-tall astronomical clock tower, it might settle for a simple sundial. The knowledge does not disappear in a day, but is whittled down, simplified to meet the demands of a poorer, less stable world. The great machines of antiquity were not necessarily steps in a continuous march of progress. Many were technological dead ends, brilliant flashes in the pan that shone brightly before the world became too dark to sustain them. Understanding this cycle of loss and rediscovery is more than an academic exercise. It is a cautionary tale for our own technologically dependent civilization, reminding us that our knowledge is not a permanent possession, but a flame that must be constantly fed and carefully guarded against the winds of change. A digital ghost emerges from a corroded bronze fragment. This is the new frontier of archaeology, where modern engineering and computer science are rebuilding the ancient world not with hammers and chisels, but with lasers and algorithms. We can now create a perfect virtual twin of a shattered artifact, allowing us to manipulate and test it in ways that would be impossible with the fragile original. The process often begins with three-dimensional laser scanning, a technique that captures the exact geometry of an object down to the micron. Every crack, every worn gear tooth, every faint inscription is mapped with pinpoint accuracy, creating a digital canvas for reconstruction. This precise data then feeds into specialized simulation software. Computational fluid dynamics can model how water flowed through a Roman aqueduct or a complex fountain system, revealing the hydraulic logic behind the spectacle. Finite element analysis can stress test a digital model of a siege engine's frame, showing us precisely where the real-world machine would have experienced strain and where it was brilliantly over-engineered. These tools allow researchers to test hypotheses with a simple click. What happens if we change this gear ratio? Does the mechanism still track the moon? What if we adjust the angle of a water jet? The digital model provides immediate feedback, turning speculation into quantifiable evidence. The work of digital archaeologist Dr. Bernard Fischer, particularly on projects like the Digital Hadrian's Villa, showcases the power of this approach. He explains that these methods let us run countless experiments in a virtual sandbox, testing different theories about how a device functioned quickly, safely, and at almost no cost compared to building a physical replica. The digital reconstruction is only half the story. Once a virtual model is perfected, it can be sent to a three-dimensional printer, materializing as a tangible, working prototype. Researchers can hold a physical copy of an ancient gear train in their hands, feeling how the pieces mesh and identifying subtle design features that were invisible on a screen. This synergy between the digital and the physical is transforming the field. Even the most fragmentary evidence is yielding its secrets to new analytical tools. Machine learning algorithms can be trained to recognize patterns in corrosion or to suggest the most likely configuration of scattered pieces, acting as an artificial intelligence assistant to the human researcher. Collaborative online platforms then allow these digital models and findings to be shared instantly with international teams, creating a global brain trust focused on a single ancient puzzle. This digital toolkit does not replace traditional experimental archaeology, it supercharges it. It provides a rigorous blueprint that guides the hands-on work, reducing years of trial and error. And perhaps most beautifully, these virtual reconstructions are not locked away in academic journals. They are being used to create immersive virtual reality experiences and interactive museum displays, allowing anyone to step inside a fully functioning ancient water mill or operate a digital replica of the Antikythera Mechanism. This public access transforms abstract concepts into visceral understanding, making the genius of the past a shared, living heritage. The insights gained are often startling, revealing a depth of engineering intuition we are only beginning to appreciate. The true test of an ancient blueprint comes when your hands are covered in grease and sawdust. Experimental archaeology is the ultimate reality check for history, a discipline that insists the only way to truly understand a 2,000-year-old machine is to build it yourself, using the same tools, the same materials, and confronting the same maddening problems. It is a conversation held not in libraries, but in workshops where the stubborn resistance of wood and bronze becomes the teacher. Consider a team attempting to reconstruct a Roman water mill. The theoretical design seems flawless on parchment, but when they try to carve the horizontal water wheel using only Roman-era adzes and chisels, they discover a profound truth. The grain of the wood dictates the strength of the blades, a reality no text would ever bother to record. They learn that the precise angle at which the water strikes the paddles is not just a number, it is the difference between a smooth, powerful rotation and a shuddering, inefficient mess. These are the unspoken lessons of materials, the tacit knowledge that was passed from master to apprentice through generations of hands-on work. This process of building to understand has yielded some of the most dramatic revisions of history. The reconstruction of the ancient Greek warship Olympias was one such revelation. For centuries, scholars debated how a trireme with its 3 banks of oars could have been rowed effectively. The written descriptions were confusing, the illustrations contradictory, so a team built one. They crafted a full-scale replica using the same types of wood and construction techniques. When they put it in the water with a crew of modern volunteers, the answers began to flow. They discovered the precise, rhythmic coordination required to prevent the oars from clashing, a feat of teamwork that must have been drilled into ancient crews with relentless discipline. They tested its speed and maneuverability, proving that these ships were not just floating platforms, but agile and terrifyingly fast weapons. The project did more than confirm the trireme was possible. It revealed the human-machine interface, the intense physical and organizational demands placed upon the 170 men who powered it. Similarly, building working models of Hero's steam devices or a fully functional Archimedes screw pump uncovers the practical genius behind the theory. You can read about the Aeolipile, the first steam engine, and understand the principle of action and reaction. But when you fire up a replica, you feel the power of the steam as it rushes from the jets. You see the sphere spin with a startling, whistling force, and you are left with a single, haunting question. Why was this not developed further? The reconstruction provides a clue. The device is spectacular, but it is not connected to anything. It is a demonstration, not a practical engine. The limitation was not the understanding of steam, but perhaps the vision of its application. Experimental archaeologist Dr. Alex Zimmerman explains that this hands-on work is the only way to access the silent knowledge embedded in these designs. The exact force needed to set a gear train in motion, the specific sound a well-meshed gear makes, the way worn leather seals in a force pump need a certain break-in period, these were all felt and understood by the ancient engineer. They were the muscle memory of a trade, knowledge that was never written down because it was learned by doing. This is why using authentic materials is non-negotiable. A modern steel chisel behaves entirely differently on bronze than an ancient iron one. A power saw leaves a surface that interacts with wood in a way a hand-sawn piece does not. The material itself is a source of evidence, and perhaps counterintuitively, failed reconstructions are often the most informative. When a model of a siege engine collapses under its own weight, it tells you exactly where the historical accounts might be exaggerated or where your own understanding of the physics was flawed. Public demonstrations of these replicas serve as a final, brutal test. Can a reconstructed ballista reliably hit a target at 200 paces, as the texts claim? Can an Archimedes screw lift enough water to irrigate a field within a practical time frame? Putting the machine to work in real-world conditions separates plausible theory from functional reality. This entire process bridges a gap that pure scholarship cannot, transforming our abstract historical knowledge into something we can see, hear, and touch. It often reveals that these ancient machines were far more sophisticated than we gave them credit for, while in other cases, showing the very real and human limitations their creators struggled against. Each splinter, each perfectly meshing gear, each successful launch is a tribute to the original makers, a testament to the fact that sometimes, to truly hear the past, you must first build a machine that lets it speak. A bronze gear is more than a piece of metal. It is a testament to the society that could conceive of it, fund its creation, and understand its purpose. These incredible machines were not the product of lone geniuses toiling in isolation, but the pinnacle of complex, collaborative efforts. Behind the Antikythera Mechanism stood a team of specialists, a project manager coordinating the work of astronomers who provided the celestial data, mathematicians who calculated the intricate gear ratios, and master bronze casters who turned those abstract numbers into a physical, functioning computer. This was ancient research and development in action, a process only possible within a sophisticated economic and social structure. Royal patronage was the engine for most large-scale technological projects. A Hellenistic king would fund the development of a massive siege engine like the Hellepolis, not out of pure curiosity, but as a strategic investment to conquer a rival city. In China, Emperor Huizong supported Su Song's colossal clock tower because an accurate calendar was a direct symbol of his divine mandate to rule. The state provided the resources, the organization, and the urgent need that drove these ambitious endeavors forward. Yet the status of the engineers themselves was a precarious and complex matter. In Rome, an architect like Vitruvius could achieve great respect, his name preserved for posterity. But for every celebrated inventor, there were countless anonymous craftsmen, their individual identities lost to history despite their essential skills. Social historian Dr. Lynn Foxhall explains that the relationship between slavery and innovation was particularly nuanced. While slave labor was ubiquitous in mining and basic construction, the design and precision work on advanced machines almost certainly required educated, free artisans. These specialists possessed what the Greeks called techne, a blend of theoretical knowledge and hands-on skill that was highly valued, yet they often remained economically dependent on the whims of a single wealthy patron. This reliance on elite funding meant that technological development was channeled towards specific ends. Why did Heron build a steam-powered toy but not a steam engine for industry? The economic incentives were not there. The society that could fund a miraculous temple door had no need for factory automation. The market for such a transformative technology simply did not exist. The viability of an invention was dictated by what the powerful were willing to pay for, whether it was a religious spectacle, a military advantage, or a symbol of cosmic authority. This social dimension also reveals why knowledge could be so fragile. The intricate process of creating wootz steel for legendary Damascus swords was not just a chemical formula, it was a craft tradition passed from master to apprentice within specific guilds. When political upheaval disrupted those social networks or depleted the trade routes for its unique ores, the knowledge died with the last generation of smiths who held it. The machine itself was just the final product, the fleeting bloom on a deep and vulnerable root system of social organization, specialized labor, and economic stability. To hold a replica of an ancient gear is to hold a piece of that lost social world, a world of brilliant collaboration and sobering constraints, where the fate of a technology was decided not just in the workshop, but in the palace, the temple, and the marketplace. The gears of industry turned long before the age of steam. While we marvel at intricate celestial computers and temple automata, the true measure of ancient technological prowess often lay in the sheer scale of its production. Consider the Roman water mills at Barbegal in southern France. This was not a single building but a terraced factory carved into a hillside, where 16 separate water wheels harnessed the flow of an aqueduct to power an assembly line of grinding stones. The complex could produce an estimated 4.5 tons of flour every day, enough to feed the entire nearby city of Arelate, a population of over 10,000 people. This was industrial planning on a monumental scale, a systematic conversion of natural energy into a staple commodity that sustained an urban civilization. The same principle of organized power transformed the Spanish landscape at Los Medulas. Here, Roman engineers did not just mine for gold, they moved mountains. They constructed vast networks of aqueducts and reservoirs high in the hills, then released the stored water in a controlled deluge to blast away entire slopes of gold-bearing ore. The rubble was then channeled through sluices and processed by massive, water-powered stamp mills that pounded the rock into manageable fragments. This hydraulic mining operation, known as ruina montium, was a form of geological engineering that reshaped the earth itself to feed the empire's economy. The organizational genius extended to the Roman military, which perfected the concept of interchangeable parts centuries before Henry Ford. A broken ballista on the German frontier did not require a master craftsman to fabricate a unique replacement. The torsion springs, frames, and metal fittings were manufactured to standard specifications in centralized workshops, allowing for quick field repairs with identical components shipped from depots. This was mass production applied to advanced artillery, a logistical system that ensured the empire's war machine remained operational across thousands of miles of frontier. According to archaeologist Dr. Andrew Wilson, this systematization extended even to seemingly mundane materials. The production of Roman concrete involved supply chains that stretched across the Mediterranean, with specific types of volcanic ash from Pozzuoli being shipped to construction sites from North Africa to the coast of Gaul. This was not a haphazard process. It was a managed industrial operation that guaranteed a consistent, high-quality product capable of creating structures that still stand today. These large-scale operations demanded equally sophisticated management. The organization of labor for a project like the Barbagal Mills required surveyors, hydraulic engineers, carpenters, and millers, all coordinated under a single administrative vision. Specialized tools were developed for specific tasks, from the heavy-duty adzes used to shape water wheel paddles to the precision calipers used by military engineers to ensure part standardization. The entire system relied on transportation technology, a network of roads and ships that could move everything from standardized artillery parts to sacks of volcanic ash across the known world. These were not just engineering projects, they were complex administrative and logistical puzzles, technological achievements in organization as much as in mechanics. The silent, grinding rhythm of the millstones at Barbagal speaks not of a lone inventor, but of a civilization that had mastered the art of scale, turning individual ingenuity into a sustained, collective power that could feed cities, reshape mountains, and equip armies. This industrial dimension forces us to expand our definition of ancient technology beyond the spectacular one-off device. It reveals a world where the blueprint was just the beginning, and the true miracle was in the mobilization of an entire society to bring that blueprint to life, day after day, on a scale that rivals our own modern ambitions. The silent rhythm of a machine depends on the perfection of its smallest parts. Creating a complex device like the Antikythera Mechanism or a Roman ballista was not an act of rough approximation, but one of meticulous precision. These engineers worked with a sophisticated understanding of metrology, the science of measurement, developing standardized systems that guaranteed quality and interchangeability across vast distances. A Roman legionary on the German frontier could repair his unit's catapult with a replacement part shipped from a workshop in Italy, confident it would fit perfectly. This was only possible because of calibrated bronze rulers, standardized thread patterns, and a universal unit of length known as the Roman foot, which varied by less than 1% across the entire empire. This was not crude guesswork, it was ancient quality control on an industrial scale. The drive for precision extended far beyond Rome. Babylonian merchants used exquisitely carved stone weights for commerce, their consistency enforced by temple authorities to ensure fair trade. In ancient Greece, the standard gauge grooves cut into stone blocks for cranes and transport systems reveal the use of metal templates, ensuring that every block, regardless of which quarry it came from, would interface perfectly with the lifting machinery. This was mass production applied to monumental architecture. Metrologist Dr. John Neal points out that these measurement systems were often far more than practical tools. They encoded deep mathematical and astronomical knowledge. The Roman foot, for instance, can be derived from divisions of the Earth's circumference, while other ancient units relate directly to the dimensions of planetary orbits. The measuring rod was, in a very real sense, a model of the cosmos. This required specialized instruments beyond simple rulers. Excavations have uncovered bronze calipers for measuring both internal and external dimensions, precision-crafted lead levels for exact horizontal alignment, and beautifully engraved goniometers for measuring angles. Maintaining this quality in production demanded rigorous methods. Master craftsmen used these tools to create templates and patterns that less skilled workers could follow, ensuring consistency in everything from gear teeth to ceramic vessels. Centralized workshops for the Roman military produced identical arrowheads, spear butts, and artillery components by the thousands, their uniformity a testament to a system designed for logistical resilience. The existence of such sophisticated metrology shatters our simplest assumptions about ancient manufacturing. It proves they possessed the foundational skill necessary for advanced technology, the ability to measure, replicate, and standardize. This precision allowed for the creation of moving parts that meshed in silent harmony and architectural wonders that have stood for millennia. It was this unshakable foundation of measured certainty that ultimately allowed the ancients to build machines that could, in turn, measure the universe itself. A single line drawn on a papyrus map could guide an empire's army across a continent. The ancient drive to navigate and chart the world fueled a technological revolution in measurement and representation, creating tools that bound vast territories together through knowledge. Greek sailors did not simply follow the coastline. They ventured into the open Mediterranean, guided by the stars and by early versions of the astrolabe, a device that measured the angle of the sun or a star above the horizon to determine their latitude. This was celestial navigation, turning the predictable motions of the heavens into a reliable path across the trackless sea. On land, the same spirit of precision was at work. Roman land surveyors, known as agrimensors, transformed the landscape into a measurable grid. Using an instrument called a groma, they cited straight lines and perfect right angles, laying out the foundations for military camps, new cities, and the vast, arrow-straight network of Roman roads that stretched for thousands of miles. Their work was so accurate that modern surveys often confirm their alignments with astonishing precision. This was cartography in action, the land itself becoming a living map. The backbone of this geographical science was a suite of sophisticated instruments. The Greek dioptra was a marvel of engineering, a precision theodolite that could measure horizontal and vertical angles with remarkable accuracy. It was the total station of its day, used for everything from tunneling through mountains to mapping the course of an aqueduct across rolling hills. By sighting on a distant staff, an engineer could calculate elevations and distances, creating the topographical data needed for both construction and cartography. For the individual traveler, technology offered portable guidance. Miniature sundials, some no larger than a watch, could be calibrated for different latitudes, while mechanical calendars tracked the date and the unequal hours of the day. These were not just timekeepers, but personal navigation systems that helped a merchant or a soldier maintain his schedule and orientation across a long and unfamiliar journey. The ultimate testament to this geographical genius came from the library at Alexandria. There, the scholar Eratosthenes took on a seemingly impossible task, calculating the entire circumference of the Earth. Historian Dr. Dwayne Roller explains his brilliant method. Eratosthenes knew that at noon on the summer solstice in the city of Seen, the sun shone directly down a deep well, meaning it was at the zenith. On the same day in Alexandria, 500 miles to the north, a vertical staff cast a definite shadow. By measuring the angle of that shadow, a mere 7 degrees, and applying simple geometric principles of similar triangles, he calculated the Earth's curvature. His final figure for the planet's circumference was within a few percent of the actual value, a staggering achievement of pure intellect and careful observation. This was not abstract science, it had immediate practical consequences. A known Earth size allowed for better map projections and more confident planning for long-distance travel and trade. This explosion of geographical knowledge was compiled into practical tools for the state. Marinus of Tyre developed early systems of latitude and longitude, creating a grid upon which the world could be drawn. Ptolemy later refined these ideas in his Geographia, providing instructions for projecting the spherical Earth onto a flat map. At sea, navigators combined this knowledge with the magnetic compass, a Chinese invention that spread westward, and detailed written sailing directions called peripli. These documents listed ports, landmarks, prevailing winds, and sailing times, creating a cumulative database of maritime routes that connected the entire Mediterranean and beyond, from the Indian Ocean to the coast of East Africa. These interconnected systems of mapping and navigation formed the invisible infrastructure of the ancient world. They enabled the Roman legions to march, the Chinese silk caravans to traverse deserts, and the Arabian dhows to ride the monsoon winds. They proved that the greatest machines of antiquity were not always made of bronze gears. Sometimes, the most powerful technology was a shared idea, a coordinated system of knowledge that allowed humanity to truly grasp the scale of their world and confidently find their place within it. A bronze dragon that spits fire is not merely an amusement. In the workshops of Alexandria and the courtyards of Aristotle's Lyceum, machines were built to answer profound philosophical questions. These devices were not tools in the modern sense, but arguments cast in metal, physical demonstrations of how the world might work. For ancient natural philosophers, technology was the most compelling way to test theories about causality, motion, and the hidden forces governing the cosmos. A complex gear train was not just a mechanism, it was a tangible expression of a belief in a mathematically ordered universe. Philosopher Dr. Lieber Taub points out that the earliest engineering treatises often begin not with instructions, but with deep philosophical inquiries. They ask questions about the nature of void, the principles of motion, and the causes behind phenomena. Only after establishing this theoretical groundwork do they proceed to the practical art of building. This explains why a device like Hero's steam engine, the Eolipile, was never connected to a mill or a pump. Its purpose was not to do work, but to demonstrate a principle. The rushing steam and the spinning sphere were a spectacular proof that heat could produce motion, a vivid illustration of the transformation of one element into another. It was experimental philosophy in its purest form. This drive to build in order to understand created a vital bridge between abstract theory and tangible experience. A philosopher could debate the nature of air as one of the fundamental elements, but a working pneumatic device like a force pump or a water organ showed its properties in action. It proved air had volume, could be compressed, and could exert force. These machines mediated between the world of ideas and the world of things, making complex principles accessible and undeniable. The role of wonder was central to this entire process. Automated temple doors or singing mechanical birds were not designed for efficiency, but to provoke awe and curiosity. This sense of thoma, or wonder, was considered the starting point of philosophy. By creating a marvel, the engineer invited the observer to ask how it worked, to question the natural order, and to seek the underlying physical causes. This was science as spectacle, meant to engage the public and demonstrate the power of human reason to unravel nature's secrets. On a grander scale, these devices served as powerful metaphors. An astronomical computer like the Antikythera Mechanism, with its interlocking gears predicting planetary positions, was a miniature model of a clockwork cosmos. It physically embodied the idea that the universe operated according to regular, comprehensible laws. Similarly, pneumatic and hydraulic devices were often used to explain biological processes, with the flow of water through pipes analogized to the flow of blood through veins. This philosophical dimension helps explain one of the great puzzles of ancient technology. Why invest immense resources in devices with little practical utility? The answer is that their utility was intellectual. They were built to explore the boundaries of the physically possible, to satisfy a deep human craving to understand, and to demonstrate the power of reason over the material world. These philosophical explorations, walking the fine line between natural magic and rigorous experiment, sometimes produced effects so startling they seemed to defy explanation, leaving later generations to wonder if the ancients had possessed secrets we have yet to rediscover. The line between a miracle and a machine was dangerously thin. For a pilgrim approaching an Egyptian temple, the sudden, silent opening of massive stone doors without any visible force was not an engineering feat, it was a divine manifestation. The hidden system of counterweights, hydraulics, and cunningly concealed levers was a secret known only to the priestly class. This deliberate blurring of boundaries was not accidental. It was a core function of ancient high technology in the service of power. A king or high priest who could command doors to open with a gesture or make a statue speak was demonstrating a connection to the gods that was both terrifying and irresistible. The technology itself became a form of sacred theater, designed to inspire devotion and reinforce the social order. Engineers like Hero of Alexandria were the masterminds behind this sacred spectacle. His designs for automated temple wonders went far beyond simple mechanics. He described a system where the lighting of a sacred fire on an altar would, through a series of pneumatic transfers, caused temple doors to swing open and statues to pour libations of wine or milk. To the uninitiated, it was pure magic, a direct response from the gods to human ritual. The same principles were used to create oracular devices, hidden speaking tubes cleverly integrated into statues and amplified by the acoustics of stone chambers, allowed a priest to project a disembodied voice, delivering prophecies that seemed to emanate from the stone itself. Historian Dr. Derek Collins explains that these engineers often cultivated an aura of mystery, not just to protect their methods, but to enhance the perceived power of their creations. The knowledge of pneumatics or gearing became a form of privileged magic, a tool that elevated both the device and its maker to a near supernatural status. This strategic use of technology extended from the temple to the palace. Mechanical animals that moved and sang, or elaborate fountains that seemed to pour wine and water interchangeably, were not merely royal amusements. They were potent symbols of a ruler's control over nature itself. A monarch who could make bronze birds sing on command was demonstrating a power that mirrored that of the gods, suggesting their favor and legitimizing their right to rule. The awe inspired by these devices was a political currency as valuable as any army. The very real scientific principles at work, the understanding of air pressure, hydraulics, and gear trains, were overshadowed by the overwhelming sensory experience of the miraculous. For the vast majority of people, there was no practical distinction between an advanced automaton and a living creature enchanted by a sorcerer. The machine was magic because its inner workings were incomprehensible. This deliberate obfuscation had a profound consequence for the survival of knowledge. When technology is wrapped in layers of ritual secrecy and presented as divine intervention, its underlying principles become vulnerable. The death of a master engineer or the dissolution of a priestly guild could sever the chain of transmission completely, turning a working marvel back into an indecipherable myth. The technology did not just become forgotten, it became reclassified as legend, something that never truly existed in the first place. This helps explain why so many accounts of ancient wonders were dismissed by later generations as mere fanciful stories. We are only now, with our own advanced tools, beginning to peel back the layers of mystery and recognize the sophisticated engineering hiding within the tales of magic. Understanding this blurred boundary does more than explain historical loss. It reframes our entire search. It suggests that the next great discovery might not be a corroded gear in a shipwreck, but a re-examination of a myth, a fresh look at a text describing an impossible wonder, asking not if it was magic, but what kind of machine could have made it seem that way. The silent fragments in museum drawers still hold countless secrets. For every machine we have reconstructed, a dozen more exist only as tantalizing references in faded ink or as corroded lumps awaiting a new technology to reveal their truth. The search for lost technology is a live investigation, with new chapters being written every year. Consider the legendary mirrors of Archimedes. Ancient historians wrote that he deployed arrays of polished bronze shields to focus sunlight and set the Roman fleet ablaze. Was this a real weapon or a symbolic story of his genius? Modern experiments have yielded mixed results, suggesting that while the principle is sound, the practical challenges of aiming and coordinating enough mirrors against moving ships are immense. Yet the very fact that we are still testing this idea 2 millennia later shows how these ancient accounts continue to challenge and inspire us. Similar mysteries surround his planetarium, a mechanical model of the heavens so detailed it reportedly showed the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. No physical trace has ever been found, leaving us to wonder if it was even more complex than the Antikythera Mechanism. These textual ghosts are not the only leads. Archaeologists are now using ground-penetrating radar to scan promising sites without ever breaking ground, searching for the hidden outlines of workshops or the metallic signatures of buried tools. Underwater excavations in the eastern Mediterranean continue to probe shipwrecks that could be carrying technological cargo, preserved in the cold, dark, oxygen-poor mud of the seafloor. These are the time capsules most likely to yield a complete device protected from the looters and metal recyclers of later ages, according to researchers like Dr. Michael Lewis. Our greatest advances may come not from new digs, but from a fresh look at old evidence. He suggests that many everyday objects in museum collections have been fundamentally misunderstood. A peculiarly shaped ceramic vessel might be dismissed as a ritual object, when in fact it could be a critical component from a pneumatic pump or a distillation apparatus. The key is to look at these artifacts not with modern categories but through the eyes of an ancient engineer, asking what problem it was designed to solve. New analytical methods are making this possible. We can now take a sliver of corrosion from a bronze fragment and analyze the trace elements within, revealing the geographic origin of the metals and the specific casting techniques used. We can use reflectance transformation imaging to highlight tool marks on a stone block, showing us exactly how it was cut and fitted. Every unanswered question is a doorway. The ongoing nature of this research proves that our map of the ancient technological landscape is still riddled with blank spaces, each one a potential revolution waiting to happen. This sense of perpetual discovery of a past that is never fully settled forces a profound and very modern question. What do these echoes of lost ingenuity truly mean for our own technological future? The silent, corroded gears of the Antikythera Mechanism speak to a technological landscape of breathtaking sophistication, one that forces us to redraw the entire map of human innovation. This journey through the lost machines of antiquity reveals a world where engineers solved problems with a depth of understanding we are only just beginning to measure. From the celestial computers of Greece to the hydraulic factories of Rome and the astronomical clock towers of China, these were not isolated marvels but peaks of a forgotten high technology. They demonstrate capabilities in precision mechanics, materials science, and systems thinking that would not be matched again for over 1,000 years. Our modern reconstruction efforts, blending forensic science with hands-on craftsmanship, are slowly recovering this lost knowledge, piece by reconstructed piece. Yet this recovery process itself highlights a sobering truth. The recurring theme is not just invention but loss. The fragile threads of knowledge transmission were broken time and again by social collapse, the loss of royal patronage, or the simple disintegration of a single, crucial manuscript. This pattern reminds us that technological progress is not a one-way street. It is a flame that can be dimmed, a library that can burn, a craft that can vanish when the last master dies without an apprentice. These ancient achievements challenge the comfortable, linear narrative of history. They show us that human ingenuity has taken diverse and parallel paths across the globe, flaring into brilliance in different eras and cultures, only to sometimes recede back into the shadows. The Roman engineer Vitruvius outlined principles like order, arrangement, and economy, ideas that clearly guided these ancient technological triumphs. These are not outdated concepts, they are the very bedrock of elegant design, as relevant to a modern software engineer as they were to a bronze caster in Alexandria. So where does this leave us? The reconstruction of these devices is more than an academic exercise. It is a source of profound inspiration. Could the passive cooling principles of a Persian windcatcher inform new green architecture? Might the self-healing chemistry of Roman concrete offer solutions for our own crumbling infrastructure? The past holds a vast repository of untapped ideas, solutions forged in an era of different constraints. I would love to hear which of these ancient machines captivates your imagination the most. Was it Zhang Heng's earthquake detector, Hero's steam engine, or the intricate gearwork of the Antikythera Mechanism? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this exploration of forgotten innovation has sparked your curiosity, consider subscribing for more journeys into the greatest mysteries of our past. The work continues, proving that human ingenuity has always found remarkable, and often beautiful, ways to understand and shape the world. A Roman gear tooth holds secrets about durability that modern engineers are only now deciphering. By studying the subtle wear patterns on 2,000-year-old bronze gears, researchers can trace a lifetime of use, understanding how these machines performed under stress and how their designers planned for longevity. This is not merely historical curiosity, It is a new frontier in materials science. The legendary strength of Damascus steel, for instance, was once thought to be a lost art. But when modern scientists placed a sample under an electron microscope, they saw something astonishing: carbon nanotubes woven seamlessly into the steel's matrix. These microscopic structures, created through a specific forging process involving precise thermal cycles, gave the blades their legendary flexibility and sharpness. Today, metallurgists are not just trying to replicate this steel for historical accuracy. They are using that ancient recipe to inspire the development of new composite materials for aerospace and medical implants, materials that need to be both incredibly strong and remarkably light. This backward-looking innovation is revolutionizing one of our most fundamental modern industries, construction. For decades, our own concrete has been crumbling, requiring constant and expensive repair. Yet Roman concrete, submerged in the Mediterranean Sea for 2 millennia, has grown stronger. The key was in the mix, a specific blend of lime and volcanic ash that triggers a slow chemical reaction when exposed to seawater, forming crystals that actually block microcracks from spreading. Materials scientists have now decoded this self-healing mechanism. Dr. Sarah K. Brown, a civil engineer, explains that this ancient technology is directly inspiring the next generation of green concrete. We are now embedding similar crystalline additives into modern concrete, creating infrastructure that can repair its own cracks, drastically reducing maintenance costs and extending the lifespan of our bridges, roads, and buildings by centuries. The lessons are not confined to materials. The same principles of leverage and gearing that powered Heron's automata are finding new life in the world of the incredibly small. Roboticists designing microsurgical tools study ancient pulley systems and gear trains to create delicate instruments that can navigate the human body with minimal force and maximum precision. The compact, efficient design of the Antikythera Mechanism's differential gear offers a masterclass in complexity within a confined space, a constant challenge in modern microengineering and nanotechnology. These ancient inventors demonstrated a profound elegance, solving problems with a minimalist efficiency that our own technology, often obsessed with adding features, sometimes overlooks. This elegance extended to their project management. The construction of the Roman aqueduct system or the massive Barbagal water mill complex required a level of logistical coordination that rivals any modern engineering megaproject. They managed supply chains across continents, standardized parts for easy replacement, and organized vast, specialized labor forces, all without digital tools. Their success offers a timeless lesson in the importance of clear organization, modular design, and robust communication for any large-scale endeavor. The ultimate takeaway from these reconstructions is a humbling one. True innovation is not always about inventing something from nothing. Sometimes the most brilliant solutions are already here, waiting in the fragments of the past, offering us a second chance to learn what was once known. The drive to understand these lost machines connects us directly with the minds of the ancient engineers, reminding us that the fundamental challenges of building, creating, and problem-solving are a shared human constant, bridging the gap of centuries with a single, perfectly